I'm here to fight for truth and justice and the American way. We're talking Superman. Hit it. It was 1978. NASA unveiled the first group of women astronauts. The first Garfield comic strip debuts in the U.S. newspapers. You're the One That I Want from the film version of Grease topped the charts. And Christopher Reeve's Superman made us believe a man could fly. I'm your host, Jerry D., with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, and a little extra, like 70s, we got it covered. Joining me is a very special guest. You'll know him as a host of the Way Awesome Can't Wait for Christmas podcast, Tim Babb. Tim, how's it going?
Going great. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thanks for being on. I love your show. The Nat King Cole one was, it reminded me of my grandma, so it was very good. I really enjoyed that. And of course, The Miracle on 34th Street is, that episode was also one of my favorites.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
It really hit me in the feels. So thank you.
That's what I'm all about. Feel hitting.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, man. So you're doing all right out there? You're in California, aren't you?
Yes, indeed. And it's a bit crazy right now, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you know, thankfully, I have my health. My wife and kids are okay.
Right
my
on.
mom's okay. So, you know, I'm definitely one of the luckier ones in this in what's going on right now. So I can appreciate that.
Well, amen. And thanks be to God for that. So we're talking Superman today, but specifically the Superman film from 78, which, you know, it's almost 80s at that point. But what's your general, you know, history or just your feelings on Superman?
Well, I figured I should explain because I don't know if we want to say this, but I was the one who picked this movie. That's
true. Yeah, we can say it. I don't mind.
I feel like I should justify what, because I'm sure people are like, Totally Rad Christmas podcast. Superman.
It's all right. My last episode, I mean, I've had G.I. Joe and He-Man and, you know, Mega Man.
Yeah, but weren't those at least Christmas specials of those two things?
Those two did, but the last one I did was on Mega Man.
I did see that one. I hadn't listened to it yet, but I saw that. I was like, Mega Man? There was a Christmas one?
Well, no, but I got it for Christmas, so I can't.
Oh, okay. So I felt I should explain the reasons I can justify this as a Christmas discussion topic.
Cool. I'm ready.
The first is, I hope your show lasts for a really long time and you get lots of other guests besides me.
Oh,
and if they want to pick a more obvious Christmas movie or thing to discuss in the 80s, I don't want you to have to go, oh, Tim already took that one.
All right. That's a good reason. I'll take it.
Then it was released on December 15th, which officially qualifies it as a Christmas release.
Yes,
I believe it was even in the marketing.
It was, yeah.
Also, it's about a guy who wears a lot of red, who lives in the North Pole and flies all the way around the world.
You know what? I'm starting to see it.
Not only that, what do we celebrate at Christmas? The birth of Jesus, or
it's
how
true.
Someone sent their only son to Earth to save us all. And if you watch the opening of this movie, you can't tell me this is not that.
For real. Oh, man. And, you know, this movie, it's just so crazy because, I mean, they have like such big names, but at the time, Christopher Reeve was kind of an unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so it starts off like Marlon Brando, he gets top billing, you know, and then Gene Hackman comes after him. And it's like they're above the guy who's actually the character that the movie is named for.
Yeah, he's third billed.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't even think he was above the title.
I don't think he was, no.
I think it was Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Superman, starring Christopher Reeve.
Yeah. Oh, man, those titles are amazing. But before we get into that, yes, I I see your point, and I agree. It really is it's a Christmas release, of course, but it's one of those things that it's close enough to the holidays that people will associate it with the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, the week before Christmas, I think it made like $12 million. It was like an all-time, box office high for Warner Brothers for that.
Yeah, it was Warner Brothers' #1 movie for like years after this.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And then Christmas week itself, it made like $18 million. So not only did it break the record, then it broke the record again the very next week. And so I'm sure that that there's people out there that remember on Christmas, maybe not Christmas Day. I don't know how theaters were back then, but like Christmas Eve or maybe Boxing Day or whatever. I'm sure people have fond memories of watching Superman, with their family, which is really cool. I wish I could say that, but
well, I try to at least bring it up. I play it. Sometimes we play it on Christmas Day, but we definitely play it somewhere around the holiday every year.
Nice.
Just to sort of so now I've instilled that as an illogical Christmas tradition in my own kids.
I can dig it. We don't really have very many of those, but mostly because I'm working. I don't know if you know, but I work at a Christmas store. So
that'll keep you busy around that time.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty tied up at that time. But anyway, Superman the movie, one of my favorites, and as much as I'm all on board for Henry Cavill. He's but Christopher Reeve is my guy. He's Superman to me. Like,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he just embodies that big blue Boy Scout, hope that they kept saying in the Zack Snyder film that just didn't quite make it.
They paid a lot of lip service to it in Man of Steel, but like this actually embodies it.
Yes. Yeah. And something about picking an unknown. I mean, I know he was Juilliard trained, Christopher Reeve, and I know that he had done like one or two theater things, but something about picking an unknown that really gives you a lot of leeway to make your name. And he really did. And I wish that we had gotten the 10 films that they had originally planned.
Oh, goodness. Well, I remember I was watching some of the making of features of this. Well, like I don't already have them memorized because but Richard Donner and I can't remember the writer. He's not credited as the writer on the movie, but
Mankiewicz.
I think so. Yeah. They were talking about how like they wanted the studio was telling them like they want like Robert Redford or I think Clint Eastwood was bandied about, and he was like, no, you're not going to believe someone you already know can fly. Like we need somebody who's unknown. And they kept putting Christopher Reeve's headshot at the top of the pile, and the executives kept moving it to the bottom of the pile. And they kept moving it to the top until at one point, like he finally comes in for an audition, and they talked about like he was super skinny at the time. Yeah. His hair wasn't even black. They gave him this outfit to audition in, and it just was super hot, and he had pit stains going down.
Oh no!
And they had polish in his hair. But then he got off on the porch, the balcony, and he jumped down and said, "Good evening, Miss Lane," and everybody snapped like, that's it.
By the way, that was really good. I'm such a tenor that I can't pull that off. I really can't. I mean, you're a tenor too, but at least you can do it. But
especially like my dad has a really deep voice, so I know I don't, or had a very deep voice, obviously. But like hey Tim, like I can me doing a deep voice is me doing an impression of my dad.
Yeah, I got to. Yeah. No, for me trying to do a deep voice, I always picture Man at Arms, and I can't pull.
Wow.
It off. But I did come prepared tonight. I am drinking out of my Superman glass here.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I almost wore my Superman t-shirt, but then I remembered it's a podcast.
Yeah.
I've been sweating in this all day, so I'm not going to bother to. I'm not going to sweat in two shirts.
Well, visual bits always kill on a podcast.
Exactly.
No, and I understand. I had to. So this past couple of weeks, I've just been lighting trees, and this week in particular, I've been lighting just a bunch of flocked trees. So just putting different lights on these trees. So all week I've been breathing in like all the flocking, and as soon as I get home, I have to like shower just because I'm covered in flock that's all over me. And but
There's a pun there somewhere, but I'm going to leave it alone. I'm sure you've heard all of them by this point.
Yes. Yes, I have, but that's okay. So Superman, 1978, December 15th, like you said, and it opens up with that, it's actually almost like a film strip, isn't it?
It looks like and it looks like it's a curtain.
Yes.
Like you're watching a show.
Yeah. And it opens up, and they get into, June 1938, and
when the comic first premiered.
Yes.
Published. Sorry.
They were actually originally supposed to release this in June of 1978 to coincide with the 40th anniversary, and then of course, delays and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, it went wildly over budget and over schedule.
Yes, I think it was actually Mankiewicz that said that Donner never got a budget nor a schedule,
but he just kept getting told he was over budget and over schedule.
Oh man, I would be so frustrated if that happened to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, watching those behind the scenes, it sounds like making this was super frustrating.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it was because they tried to do 1 and 2 together.
Yep, they were making 1 and 2 at the same time.
And that's always, just the scheduling and making sure you do these sequences at this time and all that. I mean, I can't even imagine the headache they went through.
Yeah.
Do you ever listen to the How Did This Get Made podcast?
Yes. Okay. They did Superman 4 or 3.
They did both, yes.
Oh, okay.
But back in 2000, it was like 11 or 12, they actually had Jack O'Halloran come on.
Yes.
And he was given a little bit of the behind-the-scenes drama in it, and that's really good stuff there.
Yeah, I do remember that one. I remember he talked about getting into an almost fight with Christopher Reeve over something, because Christopher Reeve was talking into him like a Juilliard actor, like, you need to respect what I say. And I guess Jack grabbed Christopher Reeve by the neck and was about to punch him, and Richard Donner goes, "Not the face, not the face."
I wish I could have seen that. Oh man. But I'm sure, yeah. I mean, there's just so much plaguing this production. But in the end, he came out with something that I really believed that Christopher Reeve was Superman, and I really believed he could fly. So
yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it as we talk about more in the movie. But there's one spectacular special effect in the middle that is. For the time, like now you'd be like, yeah, whatever, we can just put that all on a computer and make it happen. But it was amazing what they did. And then Christopher Reeve does a performance in that same scene, which is doubly amazing. And like, it's more amazing than the special effect that they achieved. But
ooh, I can't wait.
That's a teaser for something we'll talk about later.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Well, let's get into it. So yes, the movie of course starts off on Krypton. And I gotta say, I loved the look of this Krypton. I mean, I remember, because I'm a comic reader, I remember the comics. It didn't look anything like it.
No.
But it looked amazing. Just something about it, and of course, after seeing some of the special effects series and reading a little bit about it, it was like that special fabric that 3M actually made for them that was really highly reflective.
Yeah, it was just made out of tiny glass balls, and you had to use gloves to touch it, otherwise it would ruin it.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. Again, just so delicate. But I mean, it really works. You see something about it. It looks like everybody's almost glowing, and it's otherworldly. And yeah, okay, their suits look like what people thought space and the future jumpsuits would look like, but that reflective, that extra hyper reflective surface just really gives it a depth and almost like a magic that you just don't see in a lot of sci-fi movies, or of course movies at that time. So
right,
that's really cool. And then of course Marlon Brando is there, and we get our first glimpse of not only the council, but or tribunal, or whatever you want to call them, but also the villains,
the villains that you won't see again until the next movie.
I don't know if that's genius or just crazy, but
I wonder, I remember as a kid, I feel like obviously, well, they started shooting Superman. They started rolling cameras on Superman the day after I was born.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I feel like they were like, wait, is he born yet? All right, roll sound, everybody. We're good to go.
We're safe. Let's go.
But I still feel like I was conscious of these movies have already existing. Like 1, 2, and 3, I feel like they just always existed in terms, they didn't, but in my mind,
right,
they are.
Right.
So I knew whenever I watched 1 that 2 was coming and what was happening in 2. Whereas I feel like in 1978, were people out of the theater? Were people walking out of the theater like, wait, what happened to those three guys at the beginning? Why did we spend 20 minutes on that?
For real. It's like it's kind of out of nowhere. Well, it's really out of nowhere. And it's just like, wait, that didn't come up again?
So people complain that Iron Man 2 sets up too much that doesn't pay off in that movie because it's world building for the Avengers universe.
Right.
This has a whole thing with three villains that they spend a lot of time with one of the most popular actors in the world back then, Marlon Brando.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? The villains, though, I mean, they're legit, like, scary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they scared me as a kid, especially Non. Non was just, oh man. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, something about Terrence Stamp and his makeup, and you can see, you know, the darkness under his eyes, and it's so pronounced, and just the malice in his voice. That gets me every time. Like, of course, Krypton is unstable. Okay, first, I guess before we even get into it, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here, but we probably should say that
it's your show. Do what you want to do.
There's actually, yeah, that's right. But there's actually like different versions of the movie. So there's the theatrical version.
Yes.
And then there was the 188-minute, you know, the 3-hour minute version of the movie, where, of course, there's the extra material, because the theatrical version was like 2 hours and like 15 or 20 minutes, something like that. So that, I mean, that's like about another 40 minutes put into it.
Yeah, some of the scenes they added back for when they played this on television. Like, they just added extra scenes that weren't. Normally they do the opposite when they play a movie on television. They cut stuff out. They're like, here's extra stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so all that stuff, they actually left it to the stations to decide whether or not they wanted to include all of that material, or some of the material, or none of the material.
Wow.
So depending on which station you saw it on, they actually had different versions. So there was, you know, this version and that version and the TV version and all sorts of things, which I thought was really cool. And then, of course, in, I think it was 2007 or so, they released or the 2017 maybe, they released, you know, the full extended cut, as they call it, and it's the full 188. So sometimes I might be talking about that, not realizing it, because I've seen both of them so many times now that I get them confused. So I'll apologize now.
And most of my life, I've grown up with a copy that I recorded off television. So I'm sure that, like, I will remember parts of that versus
exactly, yeah,
the actual versus the special edition type of thing.
But yeah, so they're there at the council, and then we get the infamous, you know, Jor-El tries to convince everybody that, you know, hey, the planet's going to explode. We gotta get out. And of course, they're like, no, it's not. You're wrong. Like, come on, guy, you're wrong.
You gotta wonder how an entire planet of supposedly the most brilliant scientific minds are on this planet. Like, only one of them figured it out, and the rest, they're like, nope, you can't be right.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I mean, this is a flaw in the source material, not this particular movie, but
that is true. Yeah. But you know, I mean, then they even convince him, like you will not try to escape, like you will not try to warn anybody. And so of course then he sends his son. But I always thought, like why would he listen to them? If the planet's going to explode, like, just go.
Yeah,
you know?
What are they going to do?
Exactly. Like you can go, you can all grow up together on Earth or wherever it is, you know, that you send.
Yeah, but like seeing how it actually played out, where it was immediately the planet exploded after that. Like, he wouldn't have time. Like, if they warned anybody, what would you do? Hey guys, exactly. Oh yeah, it's exploding right now.
See, I told you.
Let's all jump at once and see what happens.
Oh man, now I'm getting flashbacks of You've Got Mail, the elevator scene. Well, yeah. So, and this is one of the parts that always touched me, where he's putting his son in the pod, and he and his wife are just going back and forth about, you know, he'll be different, and he's like, well, he'll be awesome. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not like that, but, you know, and
he'll be awesome. Great line from Brando.
Classic. Yep. Don't look that up though. But no, but yeah, it's. I mean, that part always, for some reason, it's just the dichotomy of the two different perspectives. It always made me like excited but sad at the same time, you know? And now, especially now as a parent,
Exactly.
the dad, it's like, oh, I can't. I mean, I get what the mom is going for, you know, but at the same time, it's like, no, but I want our son to have the best. So I feel almost like Jor-El. So,
Yeah, it's one of the, like, as a kid, you're just like, this needs to get out of the way so he can put on the costume. Like,
yes,
you don't really care, but like as a parent, you're like, oh, what an awful thing to have to go through as a parent.
mm-hmm.
And even though this movie sort of sets it up or it sort of does the parallel of, you know, God sending his son to earth,
Right.
It's clearly much more, at least the two writers who were Jewish, it's much more of a Moses
right.
parallel.
Yeah.
Either way, like all of those stories, you can see how heart-wrenching it would be to give your child, just to be like, good luck, child. I know you're going to face adversity that I won't be able to help you with.
Yeah, but it's better than
it's better than staying here. It's better than exploding.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that whenever my kids ask why we're doing something, because it's better than exploding. Ever think about that?
Exploding, son. Yeah, I like that. Let's make it a thing. No, but the spaceship itself also, you know, that star-shaped kind of design, I always thought that was really cool too. And then exactly what you said, I couldn't wait for the rest of it to be over with until he got the suit. You know, and because they have to go through the whole Ma and Pa can't, and then the growing up, and I mean, they do the football kick, and you know, the running home, and all that stuff, and then the heart.
Oh yeah, when he's running past the train.
Yeah,
I think this is one of those scenes that got cut out in the movie, but was in the television version. Right. But like a little girl on the train goes, "Look at that guy who's running past the train." It's to her mom, and her mom is Lois Lane from the TV show. The TV show. I think or the serials. I can't remember which.
Yes, and then and I think the little girl is supposed to be Lois, isn't it?
Oh yes, you're right.
I think maybe
that's the part that cuts out the part where they specifically call her out as Lois Lane.
Yeah, that part always made me laugh also because I mean, even as a kid, I could tell the running was kind of fake.
What? That was legit.
Oh, it was great, but I mean, I don't know. I couldn't run that fast, so I was like, "How does he do it? I don't believe it."
There must be trickery.
But the kick always, I was always in awe of the when he kicks that football. I mean, that always just made me like, just wow, you know, the wide-eyed, just how does he do it? Of course, I believe that, but not the running. So I don't know.
Hey, you know, everybody has their limits of where, you know, their suspension of disbelief shatters.
Yeah, there you go. So I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait for that whole Kansas part to be over. Because of course, you know, little boy, I wanted to see him in the suit. But the Kansas part is like so crucial when, you know, he not only do the Kents find him, but then he like saves the dad, you know, because the truck is like falling on him, is going to pin him down, and then the little boy just lifts it up. Yep.
We also do see a naked Superman at some point in that scene.
Well, that is true. Yeah.
I'm like, well, is that what we're doing? I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't
it's
think
weird
that would
to
fly
my modern
nowadays.
eye.
Yeah. Yeah. Nowadays that'd be problematic, but
yeah,
no big deal.
I'm sure that actor's still around. I'm sure he's like, "Hey, I just watched Superman the other day, and yeah, I know what you saw. Please, just leave me alone."
Yeah, and then they wrap him up, and I think it's what the blanket that he was in. It's like the cape. It's got the symbol. Is that right?
I feel like they don't mention it, but yeah, okay. He clearly is wrapped in blankets that are red, blue, and yellow. Right. But I feel like they don't specifically call it out like they do in the comics. I think you're just supposed to infer that.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, you know, I was also a big fan of Lois and Clark back in
the TV show?
Yeah, back in the 90s. So sometimes I might be throwing that in there too.
Oh yeah, because they definitely called it out in that show.
Right. Yeah. I remember there was like a whole montage of like his mom making different suits.
Yes.
And I mean, I like Dean Cain. I liked his Superman, but again, he was no Reeve.
Yeah, I just because I was I loved everything Superman related, so I watched it. Right. But I'm like, I wanted it to be this, and it's like it's not this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a couple of cool episodes, but it was kind of like the Flash TV show too. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah,
yeah. And you know, same thing. It was like I think his rogues, the Flash is like his rogues. That's like who he those are his big guys, and I think they only come out like once each. Like I think Mark Hamill was the trickster, and I know we're going off topic, but Captain Cold came out once, Mirror Master came out once, and it's like no, the Flash always fights these guys. That's why they're the rogues. I felt like that's kind of how it was with the Superman, Lois and Clark. I think Metallo came out like once, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, Lex Luthor was around, but he wasn't even bald, right?
Right. Yeah, he wasn't bald until like what's his name, John Shea, is that right? Anyway, he hits his cameos in like the 3rd and 4th season or something. That's about it. So.
Oh, I thought there was a Lex Luthor who had hair. Maybe I'm thinking of the Superboy TV show.
No, he was. It was the whole first season. And then it was in his, like, the next seasons, he only came back for like one episode each, and that's when he was bald.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, like that whole first season was just him with hair, but we'll get to Lex Luthor and his hair in a bit.
like the Lex Luthor in this movie was wanted to have Gene Hackman wanted to wear his mustache in the movie.
Oh man!
At the time, he had one, and he met with Richard Donner about it. He's like, "Man, we'll talk about it later." And then he came on, like they came for like makeup tests or something, and Richard Donner was there. And he's like, "Hey, what about? Can I keep my mustache?" And Richard Donner turned around with a mustache, and he's like, "But tell you what, you shave your mustache, I'll shave my mustache." And Hackman's like, "All right." Gene Hackman goes, the makeup trailer, they shave off his mustache. He comes back out, and he's like, "Hey, now you promised you'd shave yours." And then Richard Donner takes and peels off the fake mustache he was wearing because he'd set up just that bit to make sure he shaved his mustache. And apparently Gene Hackman found that hilarious.
He's brilliant. I tell you, he's so brilliant. But, if you're going to make the Goonies, I guess you better be.
Yes.
But yeah, so Lex Luthor and his non-bald self always bugged me too. But
yeah, because he's eternally not bald in this movie.
Yeah, it's what, at the very, very end, right?
Yeah, the very end he takes off his fake hair. Yeah. But even worse is in 4 because he doesn't ever take off his fake hair in 4. But also you can visibly see Gene Hackman's actual bald spot from the back. I'm like, why would you have a bald spot wig on?
Just realism? I don't know.
I want people to think Lex is losing his hair.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense like at all, but it's awesome.
Yeah,
it works. But yeah, I mean, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. That's a whole thing there. So this Lex Luthor, and I know we're getting ahead, but Lex Luthor is actually based on like the pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths story of Lex Luthor. So
yeah.
So post-Crisis is when he's more of the the businessman, billionaire industrialist kind of guy that's and here he's still more of the quirky mad scientist kind of criminal. Yeah, I don't even know what he's super genius, I guess. Criminal, what is the greatest criminal mind?
Oh yes, yeah, he just loves being a criminal and he loves being the best at it.
Well, you got to be the best at something. Yeah, but I remember that always bugged me when I was little, especially because I used to love the Justice League cartoon and
yes, I would say that's probably the best depiction of Lex Luthor is the Justice League Unlimited and Justice League cartoons.
Yeah, but and even before then, like the Super Friends, with the Legion of Doom and that Lex Luthor.
Oh, I don't remember. He doesn't stand out to me in that one.
Yeah, I mean he's got that purple shirt with the collar and like the weird black X or something. I don't know, but it. So that was like my first exposure of Lex Luthor from that one.
I see.
And with the Legion of Doom, and so I knew him as bald. So when Gene Hackman was not bald, it confused my little 3 and 4 year old self. But yeah, then at the very end he takes it off. It's like, wow, he was bald the whole time.
Well, I mean, they do show like early, when you first meet him, like. He's like swimming in a pool or whatever, and they show Ned Beatty messing with a bunch of wigs in the background.
That is true. Yeah, that's true. I don't think I realized that at the time.
It's Chekhov's toupee. If the villain has a bunch of toupees in the first act, he's got to take them off in the third act. Okay, and why does Lex Luthor surround himself with like the most bumbling henchmen? Yeah, maybe he doesn't want any sort of threat to his intellectual superiority.
Could be, yeah.
But at least you like someone more competent than Ned Beatty. I don't mean the actor. I mean the character Otis.
Yeah, Otis, yeah. Then Otisberg. But But yeah, so that's another thing that always bothered me. I was like, why doesn't he have? I mean, I love this Lex Luthor. He's just a maniacal kind of guy, and I really dug it, Gene Hackman's take on him. But Otis, I just especially when Lex Luthor himself is like, N, for nitwit, nincompoop, and all that stuff.
Oh, yes.
Why is 200? It's my IQ and your weight, or whatever. I mean, just all
yes,
all these things. It's like just okay. Well, then fire him and get someone else.
It's hard to find help when you're a criminal mastermind. You can't just put an ad in Yelp.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
you don't put ads in Yelp. Monster.com.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, so Clark's growing up in Smallville. His dad gives him the whole, you have these powers for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but you're awesome and special, and you're gonna change the world or whatever. And then his dad has a heart attack, and that's when Clark decides he needs to go on this journey because he finds his ship, right, in the crystal.
Yeah, the green crystal in his ship. As he explains it in part 2, called to him.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And so then he goes on his journey, and he makes this awesome building.
I mean, that is
Solitude.
Before we move on to the Fortress of Solitude, that is a pretty heavy thing that, again, you don't think about as a kid, but then when you're watching it as an adult, and he says all those things I can do, all those powers, and I couldn't even save him.
Save him. Yeah. Another. Yeah.
I mean, that's all of us when a parent or a loved one is in trouble and you can't do anything about it. Not that we're all Superman in our everyday lives, but still, you're like, you're just helpless, and even Superman is helpless.
Whenever something that's just out of your control happens, and you're just like, I couldn't do anything about it. Again, something that kind of just went way over my head.
Yeah.
As a kid. But in subsequent watchings is like, wow. And I remember crying a couple of years ago when I was watching it, and my daughter was like, I don't know, maybe one, maybe not even one. And my wife was at work. I'd picked up my daughter after school, and it was on, and I thought, oh, cool. And so I watched it, and I remember like, oh, his dad passes away, and then of course got me thinking about my dad, who's thankfully still with us, knock on wood. But I started thinking, what would I do? And then of course he says all that line, and I thought, wow, that's deep and heavy. And yeah, I think that's part of the appeal of this movie compared to some of the other attempts at making superhero movies. It is almost like a romance, and not just the lovey-dovey man-woman romance, but the whole, just everything of it, just the emotion and the love and the heart.
Yeah,
and that's just missing from some of those. I mean, no offense to Ben Affleck's Daredevil, but come on.
I will say it. I take offense to Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Although the extended cut of that one is actually better than the theatrical.
That's what I hear.
It is, yeah.
But I'm not willing to subject myself to more of it. Much like Batman v Superman. I'm like, there's a longer version of that?
That's and I saw the longer version because I thought, okay, everyone says it kind of fixes some things, so I sat down and watched it. You don't need to. It's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, we can even go into that, but that's all right. We'll pass.
All right. So back to the Fortress of Solitude.
Fortress of Solitude, and then they get into that whole, Jor-El shows up, and I always wanted to understand how the crystals worked. I mean,
yes, it's very hand wavy. It's like, 'cause they do.
Yeah. Hey, look over here.
Yeah. What is it? Is it an AI? Is it its essence? Is it? It's the thing. We had Brando for 3 more hours this day. That's what it is.
That's exactly why. Yeah. And then they shoot all his scenes first.
Yep. I think they literally had him for 3 days, and he got paid $3 million.
It was
insanely expensive back then.
And I think Christopher Reeve only got $250,000 for both films.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah. Which is, that's a huge disparity there, but it makes sense. I mean, at the time, Marlon Brando and, Christopher Reeve. So,
that was, what sold it to Warner Brothers and the bankers are like, okay, we'll finance this based on the fact that people are going to come see a Marlon Brando movie.
See Marlon Brando, yeah. Yeah.
Of course, when they watch his planet explode in the first 20 minutes of the movie, they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. it's like Psycho, and then
Yes.
and Janet Leigh's killed right away, and you're like, oh, okay, well, not right away, but like halfway through she's gone, and you're like, wait, I invested all this time in this in her, and she's not there. It's like the same kind of thing. I think
the way they hung the marketing campaign for Scream on Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, and then
you're like, wait, what?
Yep. Well, I
Spoilers.
think they did the same thing too. I mean, of course, the movie is nowhere near as good, but with Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, Rutger Hauer is like top billed, and he's only in it for like 5 minutes or less.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, I mean, Valerian not really has anything to do with Superman, so
I mean, it involves space.
There you go. Krypton is a planet.
There you go. Space travel in both movies.
Yeah, the score when we get, in this scene, it's classic John Williams, based on it's very like Gustav Holst, esque.
Have you ever heard of a podcast called The Soundtrack Show?
No, I haven't.
It's this guy who does real deep dives into movie soundtracks.
Nice.
And I just happen to be I'm on one of these like John Williams fan boards fan pages on Facebook, and they posted an episode to them talking about Superman. I was like, what is this now? And he takes 3 episodes dissecting the music of just this movie.
Nice.
And one of the things he talks about is how, like, if you overlay the theme for Krypton with the theme he wrote for Kansas, that if you play them together, it kind of sounds like the overall Superman theme, which is to say musically that this part of his personality and this part of his personality created the whole that is Superman. I'm like, I always knew he was genius, but now I can point to a specific way that he's genius.
That is really cool, and I wouldn't doubt it like at all. I mean, he's a master of crafting A and B themes that work together. I mean, just look at Indiana Jones. It mirrors almost exactly this. What he sets up here. So, you have like the main A theme, which is, bum, 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 and then you have the B theme, which is like, bum, 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 bum. Yeah, that one.
And he was saying how like one of them is just more economical because you could like bump it him. And like that, that was to train you. Like when you heard that, you knew he was about to become Superman. Like, because like the first time, like when he's gonna rip open his shirt, like they start going bump it him. And in fact, I believe in the opening credits they do it, but I can't remember if they do it. I think that's how before it gets to the big S at the beginning. Okay, yeah.
Yep. It's a motivic development that he really gets going. But what I always found really interesting was that Jerry Goldsmith was originally supposed to do the score.
Oh, wow.
He ended up having to back out due to scheduling conflicts. And I love John Williams. Most people will say he's the best. I actually prefer Jerry Goldsmith as a composer. Because I studied, musical composition, and Jerry Goldsmith's style of like the 12 tone that he really employs, along with like primitivism and all that stuff. I mean, to me, it's just wow. But I don't think his score would have been as good for Superman.
I mean, it's hard to say because this is legendary.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the gold standard of superhero scores.
And yeah, you're right. And it's not that he's a worse composer. I just don't think he would have encapsulated the heroism and the grandeur that John Williams captures. I would have loved to have heard it. I heard his his Supergirl score is pretty good too, but he kind of actually mimics the style a little bit of John Williams.
I think you'd have to because it's supposed to be set in the same uniform.
So he's got like a march forward as well too. But John Williams he's great at writing marches.
Yes. There's another feature on the behind the scenes where Richard Donner is talking about the first time they played the score with the orchestra. And he's like, listen, if you listen to when the score gets to, it actually speaks the word Superman. It goes, bah, 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 and he goes, I actually ruined the take because I yelled, yes, genius.
It's funny because when I was teaching the song to my, because I'm nerdy like that, and I teach my kids like old soundtrack scores and themes, and anyway, so when I was teaching them Superman, we would do that, dun, 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 Superman, and things like that. And
there's a guy on YouTube. He goes by the name Golden Tusk, and what he does is he takes musical scores like this, and he writes lyrics to them and makes them into a song.
Oh,
and
nice.
Superman was either the first or one of the first ones he did. And then he goes, yeah, I mean, he wrote words for the entire opening, the Superman's, like,
wow.
Look up in the sky, that's your plan. You cannot rely on Superman.
That's awesome. It's very Bill Murray from.
Yes, and he did do Star Wars. And he's done Harry Potter, and my kids love it. Like, I actually burn them onto my iPod so we can listen to them in the car, because my kids will actually sing along the words to the song.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I need to do that then. What's his name?
Golden Tusk, all one word.
Golden Tusk. Okay, I'll have to look it up. Yeah, in fact, the theme song, I think it was released as a single, and it actually charted. I think it was like number 68 or something like that.
As well, it should have.
Yeah. But
I can't remember if it won an Oscar though. I feel like it had.
It was nominated. It was nominated, but he didn't win. No.
Yeah, I'd like to know what did win. I bet something nobody thinks about anymore.
Probably. It's so funny that that tends to happen quite a lot.
Yeah.
I remember so for a while there, I taught a class on film scoring at it was just at a high school, but we would like break down into different things. And I remember every year when the Oscars would come around, I would watch, and then of course we'd talk about it the next day in class. And I was always mad that they never picked the ones that I wanted to pick. I'm like, this score is so genius. Why? And so I don't know what criteria the Academy has, but I hate it.
I feel like that is true in a lot of categories. I feel like I hear that from a lot of people about, best picture, best actor, all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the score when he gets to the Fortress of Solitude is amazing. And then he goes through the whole transformation and he learns about his heritage, and they do, the tree and all that stuff.
And that's the first time. This is the first time we see him in costume.
Costume. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's far away. And he flies towards the camera, so you don't really get a good glimpse at him. But apparently that was also the first flight test they did.
Oh, nice.
That was the first time they filmed him flying. And Christopher Reeve actually did something with his body so that when he passed by the camera, he banked he banked his body to the left to make it look like he was changing direction, like he was the one in charge of it, as opposed to the string that's just swinging him around.
That's so cool.
Again, Richard Donner's like, it's genius. And that's when the crew knew, like, yes, we are making a Superman movie.
We're good. Yeah.
Like, we are doing this.
This is going to work. Yeah. Yeah, they use like several different techniques to get him to fly and to make it look really good. And I mean, one of them was using some of that 3M material for the screens, and they would use front projection.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're right. Nowadays, you just put it into a computer and you type a little program, and boom, you're done.
Exactly.
Back then,
stand in front of this green screen, and then we'll have two guys in those full body green costumes wiggle your cape behind you. That's literally what they did for Henry Cavill and Brandon Routh.
There's like now. I mean, back then you had to be creative. So like we were talking about with the Kryptonian costumes, they actually had to create like a little light source with mirrors and things on top of each camera that would help amplify the natural reflectiveness of that material.
Right.
Nowadays, you just, you want it to glow? Okay, enter.
Yeah. I mean, not to dismiss the hard work that the digital artists do. Like, I'm sure it's hard for them.
I do have a friend that has done that, and it is very difficult.
Right.
In fact, I also have another friend that couldn't quite master it, and so she left. But it just seems like you had to be a little more creative and ingenious, I suppose.
Yeah.
A lot of filmmakers are still kind of going back to that practical thing, and that's kind of cool. I dig that.
I agree. I especially like when they can blend them well. Like,
yes. That seems to be like the best of both worlds, and to me it makes it look, I don't know, the most realistic.
Like Jurassic Park, where because most of the dinosaurs are gigantic special effects they made, like not special, gigantic animatronics. Yeah. And so then that forces the digital crew, like, this has to look exactly like this thing that you're going to see one scene later. Yeah. So you can't be like, well, you clearly cut to something else. So that forces them and also gives them a reference point. Okay, this needs to look like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, let's light it. Okay, we know in this kind of light, this is what it looks like. So now we can match. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then, of course,
and now we finally get to Metropolis.
I was about to say, no, go ahead. Yeah, it's like we have a hard cut to like the Daily Planet, and Clark is going on his first interview, I suppose, or he's a new hire. And it's
well, because they talked about this movie in terms of 3 acts. Like the first act is Krypton, the second act is Smallville, and the third act is Metropolis. And the third act is obviously the
longest. Yeah. Yes, it's definitely the longest, but it's also the coolest because, we get to see. And okay, I got to say, I've always hated that Superman's only disguise was like the glasses,
mm-hmm.
and, and maybe combing his hair different. But the way that that Christopher Reeve played Clark Kent.
Yes.
It was brilliant. I mean, he's not standing up straight, he kind of slouches, and you can see, you visually see him lose like a few inches, and he all of a sudden he pitches his voice a little bit higher,
mm-hmm.
and it's a little more squeaky, and of course, and then the hair and the glasses. And so I can see how someone might actually say, well, you guys look the same, but there's no way you're this guy,
Right, exactly, yeah. Whereas there was a comic where Lex Luthor, like some computer program he figured out that Superman was Clark Kent, and he's like, this computer program is obviously faulty. If you had this kind of power, you would not hide it in this meek, goofy. Like, there's no way that's right. Like he, like even presented with it, like from computer analysis, Lex Luthor just wiped it. Like, no, this can't be the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the way he played it. We were talking about Lois and Clark, and no offense to Dean Cain, but I mean, it seemed to me like his Superman and his Clark Kent were exactly the same.
Yeah.
He played it exactly the same, and so that was always one thing that I thought. I mean, Christopher Reeve just nailed. He got it down, and I commend an actor that can go through a transformation like that, especially like in one scene, where he gets to the point where he's about to tell Lois, and then
that was the scene I was talking about earlier.
Okay. Yeah, his performance is just like, wow. I mean, he got it.
So that scene starts with Superman. Lois is talking to Superman on her balcony, and then Superman flies away, and then it doesn't cut. She walks into her house and opens the door, and Clark Kent is there.
Yep.
And like, you didn't think about it at the time, but what it was is she was standing in front of a projection. It was just a film of Superman flying away. Like, she wasn't actually interacting with Chris Reeve at that point. Nice. And then as she's walking into her apartment, she pauses to think for a minute so they can adjust the lighting, because you're lit differently when you're in front of that movie screen than when you are in the apartment set.
Yep.
And then she walks in and opens the door, and that's when Clark Kent comes in. And then as she walks off camera, he decides he's going to tell her, and he takes off his glasses and straightens himself up and changes his voice. You're like, he just changed with like that, it's exactly. A totally different performance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was. I mean, it was masterfully done. It was masterful. It was so good. And thinking about it now, it's like, oh man, I'm getting chills now just thinking about it, because I don't think I could do it. I mean, I'm a decent actor.
I know I couldn't do it.
I definitely I couldn't do it just like that at the drop of a hat. But yeah, so that's after their interview and
after the big reveal scene, which I skipped right over.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So okay, Superman eventually decides he can't just sit by.
Well, because Lois is about to go interview the president, and so she's taking a helicopter to go meet up with Air Force One.
Yes.
And something happens with the cable that's not really explained, but it catches the lip of the helicopter. The helicopter crashes on the side of the building, and now Lois Lane is trapped in a helicopter on the top of his high-rise, and just then, Clark happens to be leaving. I think it's the roof of the Daily Planet. So he's leaving, and like just as he leaves, her hat falls down, and he realizes who's up there. And then one of my favorite lines in the movie, of course, the bum-ba-dum, bum-ba-dum. And it's the first time he does the rip open, and then he walks over to this double doors and spins around and comes back out as Superman. And this dude goes, "Say, Jim, woo, that is a bad outfit."
Yeah. Which leads to one of the goofiest lines, although it's also really cool, is "You've got me, who's got you?"
When my kids were little enough that they wouldn't sit down for a movie, this was the first scene. I'm like, look, the first superhero movie you will see will be this, and it will be Superman rescuing Lois Lane from this helicopter crash.
Nice.
And there's one scene that encapsulates it perfectly, encapsulates the whole Superman movie experience is after he's caught her, and now she falls out of the helicopter. He catches her. The helicopter falls, and so he catches the helicopter with one hand, her in the other. And there's a scene like the Superman theme is roaring. People are cheering down below, and there's a scene where Superman has his arm out, holding the helicopter in one hand, and he's got Lois in the other hand, and like his S is big and bright on the screen. The theme is blaring, and she's looking at him like, "Oh my gosh, who is this guy?" And he's looking at her like, you don't know. I already know you. I'm like, it's so much about the character and this movie and everything. I'm like, this encapsulates why I love this movie so much. This scene right here. Yeah, it's a great scene. It really is. I remember that was my favorite out of the whole movie. Just that one scene right there. I mean, it's so good. And of course, he goes through saving other people, and I think he even saves Air Force One. Yes, later that night, Air Force One gets struck by lightning, and he fills into the engine. Yep, stops some robberies, and then saves a cat from a tree. Yep, as well. And then that's when I believe after this is when we're introduced to Lex. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah, and so he's reading about it, and I love how Lex just decides, like he just figures out, well, if he's from another planet. And he's got powers here, then the stuff from the other planet will kill him. I mean, which again, as a kid, you're like, yeah, of course, that's kryptonite. Yeah. You just like, why is it taking everybody else in the movie so long to get on board? But when you're like, wait, how do you make that leap? It is a leap, And I have a degree in physics, and I'm still trying to figure out his leap that he does. And he not only that, he figures out where that particular asteroid must have landed on Earth, so he can get his hands on someone at Addis Ababa. It's a Burnous. And then that's where we also learned that apparently America is just trucking nuclear weapons across the country. Yeah, that seems a little iffy to me. I mean, I guess how else are you going to get in places? They must be transported in something, but I don't know. It just seems incredibly unsecure. Yeah, and then that's when we get the whole. She fakes her. Right, she fakes an accident, and so and then stop, and Otis goes in to reprogram something and messes it up, and then have to do it again because Otis. Because Otis. Otis gonna Otis. Otis gonna Otis. That should be a shirt. That should be a shirt. Yeah. If you don't mention Superman anywhere else on it, you could probably get away with it. Lex Luthor in this movie, I mean, he's like way over the top, and I love it. Oh yeah. But one of the things is, when he's trying to finally get Superman's attention, and he hides that message in the high pitch frequency, the ultrasonic noise. And I remember I always thought that was just a great move. Like who would have thought to do that? And of course, Lex Luthor. but I mean, why not just, if Superman has all this hearing, it seems like you could just say it or scream or something, like, and then, once you got his attention, then just talk. But, Lex being Lex, he's so brilliant that he's just like, okay, no. Let's really make sure we get his attention. Let's not leave anything to chance. Although he does leave Otis reprogramming the missiles to chance. But I always thought, see, that kind of thing right there is like, that's a criminal mastermind, criminal genius right there. Not Otis, I don't know about, but that's the level that Lex Luthor should be at. So that part's great, and that leads to another one of the coolest pieces in the whole movie, where Superman drills into the ground. Yes, he spins so fast. It's like, why didn't he just go down a manhole? Nope. Wouldn't have been as cool. It would not have been as cool. Nope. I agree. I love how he's like, everybody back up, nothing to be concerned about. Like some of his lines like that, like, I hope this hasn't put you off flying, Miss Lane. Statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel. Or when he says, I'm here to fight for truth, justice, and the American way. And she's like, you're going to battle half of Washington. Or something like that. And he's like, I hope you don't mean that, Miss Lane. I mean, it's like so serious. Oh, man. Yeah, he does have some great lines.
But so he drills down, and then we get that cool, let's see how powerful he is montage with the fire.
Now I think that's the part that got edited out in the theaters.
I think it did. Yes, I think you're right.
Because like they shoot fire at him, they freeze him, they shoot bullets at him.
Yep. And
all of which I was like, man, in 1978, this had to be way harder because he's just walking through fire. Like, did they just make Christopher Reeve walk through fire? Because I know they didn't add it digitally.
No, they definitely didn't do it digitally. They probably rotoscoped it or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, probably. but I mean, maybe they did something when they re-released it, but I'm like, that looks good.
It does, right? Yeah. I mean, the special effects, a lot of them, yes, they don't quite hold up, but some of them really do. And it amazes me to this day that some of those things just, they got it,
Mm-hmm.
And then of course he confronts Lex Luthor. Lex by this time has the kryptonite. He hid it in a lead-lined container.
Right.
And he talks about detonators and tricks Superman into thinking that it's in the detonator to this bomb that's going to kill the children or whatever it is in the container. And oh wait, nope. It's kryptonite.
Uh-oh.
My hypothesis was right. It's like Lex.
Oh boy, that would have stunk if that didn't work. If he opened up the lead box, like, what's this? It's a rock? Tosses it away. You're like, uh-oh. Really should have had a plan B.
Like, oh man, okay. Hold on. Yeah, seems like Lex should have probably tested it out a little bit. Tested that theory out. But yeah, so it works. He's going to leave him for dead. He tells him about that he's got the 2 missiles that are going to destroy Hacky Sack, because it's the whole thing is that Lex bought all this land in California, or not in California, but like in. No,
you're right, California. It was like the worthless desert part of California.
That's right. That
doesn't show up in our postcards and whatnot.
off the San Andreas Fault, right?
Right, exactly.
And so he's going to send a nuclear missile there to cause like a major earthquake and sink part of California, and then all of a sudden he will have owned all of this
beachfront property, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And he's going to make bank, essentially.
Yeah. His entire thing is just a real estate scheme. Which happens again in Superman Returns.
Yes, it does.
That dude loves real estate.
He does. You know what? I did think Kevin Spacey did a pretty good Gene Hackman Lex.
Yes, but it like made it his own, more sinister. I feel like he was way more sinister than
he definitely was.
Gene Hackman was.
He was, but he also kind of captured just the ethos of Gene Hackman's performance, which there
was still the zaniness.
Yes,
zany is probably not the right word, but the levity. I guess.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so it's like you said, it's a big real estate scheme. Lois is out there looking into this fishy, someone's buying
real
up
estate deal.
Someone's buying up all this crazy land. Why? And but now there's Lex reveals Superman. There's 2 missiles. One going to California to destroy that and fulfill his plan, and the other one as a fail-safe to Hacky Sack, New Jersey, which unfortunately is where Lex's mole, the mobster mole, Miss Tessmacher, that's where her mom lives. So she doesn't like that Lex doesn't care that her mom's going to die. Because doesn't she even say, like, my mom lives in Hacky Sack? And
Lex looks at his watch and then looks back at her and shakes his head.
Yeah. Like just kind of shrugs, like, eh.
What are you going to
do? I could see. I wish he had said that. What are you going to do?
Sometimes you kill your girlfriend's mom with a missile. Anyway, lunch.
And so he leaves. I don't know where he goes, but I guess
wherever Bond villains hang out when Bond is in a trap that's clearly escapable.
And so she saves him, but on the condition that he has to go save her
save Hacky Sack first.
Yeah, first. Yeah.
Hackensack, not Hacky Sack. Sorry.
It's okay. I think I said it earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, bruh. Hacky Sack. Well, yeah. So they go to. He goes to save it. Unfortunately, he can't quite stop all the damage in California. Lois suffers and dies from... Which,
again, is something like, when I watched it as an adult, I'm like, that is a crazy thing to happen in this. I mean, it wasn't a kid's movie, but like this superhero movie. Like, You watch the main character, one of the main characters died. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know what happens, because you've known this movie since you were a kid, but like,
right.
I'm sure seeing it for the first time, you're like, wait, they just killed her?
And the scream that he gives is,
yes,
I mean, it's just gut wrenching. He really put all his raw emotion into that scream. Just I mean,
and they don't kill her off screen either. You watch her like suffer for a long time. You're like, this is intense.
Yep, she is struggling and suffocating, and
like, woof! No wonder Zack Snyder thought he could make the movie he could.
Yeah,
like, what if I just made my Superman movie all this?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I think you missed the rest of that movie, man.
I was like, did you go to the bathroom for a very long time? It's like never mind. I don't need to talk about Zack Snyder.
yeah. But yeah,
it's Christmas. We're supposed to be happy.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, so he decides he can't take it, and so he's going to reverse time, and
as you do,
as one is wont to do, and he fixes it. Although
he flies around the world fast enough to spin it backwards.
Which that's a little suspect right there.
I mean, in a world where he can shoot lasers out of his eyes, I'm willing to accept that that's how you turn back time.
Yeah, hey, if his dad can put his essence in a crystal, why not?
Yeah, exactly. I've been asked to make a lot of logical leaps at this point. Sure, let's make one more.
Yeah, but so he reverses time, and then she's just like, all like, hey, what's up? I ran out of gas. I'm stuck. Of course, he's just happy to see her.
Right.
Then he captures Lex, takes him to jail. Then we get the big final reveal we were talking about of the bald Lex,
Yes.
The Lex from the comics that I loved.
And then the final, what has become probably the most iconic image associated just before the credits, when we see a pan of the Earth, and then he comes flying in.
Yes.
Doesn't quite wink at the camera, but smiles at the camera, and then flies off.
Oh, it's great. It's so great. So, we talked about how they were filming 1 and 2 at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They got about 75-80% done of part 2 before they decided just to go ahead and focus on part 1 and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then Richard Lester came in and took over, and he reshot a ton of it. So, because you have to have more than 50% shot yourself, or else you don't get the director credit.
Right.
So he redid a lot of that, and I know a lot of that was because Richard Donner and the Salkinds did not get along, like at all. And Richard Lester came in only because they owed him money from. Because the Salkinds, who were the producers, Ilya and Alexander, they were notorious for not quite paying the way they were supposed to pay.
Oh.
The Jack O'Halloran that we were talking about earlier, he even mentions this, that there was one time where he didn't get paid, and he was furious that he actually went to one of the producers and grabbed him by the neck. And he was like, this will never happen again. And so they always made sure to pay him on time. But
I bet they did.
But essentially, they would like write checks that didn't have like certain numbers on it, so they could only be cashed back in Zurich. And so essentially they were just buying themselves time to make sure that they had enough money to pay for things. And Richard Lester, I think they were supposed to pay him for, I think, the 3 Musketeers and the 4 Musketeers, I think was the other. So instead, they decided they would just owe him like a movie kind of a thing. And so he decided to just kind of come in and finish it based off that. So, yeah. Which again, I mean, Richard Lester, I mean, I love Superman 2, but I love the Donner cut more.
I have to say, it's one of those things. Maybe it's just because I grew up with the Lester cut, but while I have watched and own and enjoy the Donner cut, I just feel like maybe it's just the familiarity of it. I like the Lester cut more.
Yeah. Nostalgia is a powerful thing. I mean, we've talked about it. Tis the Podcast has talked about it, and everybody pretty much that does a Christmas or any kind of thing with nostalgia talks about it. But so I think Lester's deal was that it was just he was always looking for like a gag to kind of throw in there, and so it was just a little more campy than Donner, and so that's why I kind of prefer Donner's cut. Is it's almost more the original vision, but also it takes itself a little more seriously. So to me, it's more in keeping in tone with the first movie than, but they're both great. I mean, same thing. I grew up with Richard Lester's version.
And that was a movie I watched a lot as a kid. Part 2.
Me too. It's funny because as much as I loved the first one, I actually loved part 2 more.
Well, because as you're a kid, you're like
supervillains,
Yeah, he doesn't throw a single punch in Superman 1.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Because if he did, they're all humans. He would splatter them.
Yes, you're right. It would be very bad.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's actually fighting like General Zod.
Yeah, and he throws Zod into the big Coca-Cola, or maybe it was a general. Yeah, he throws General Zod in that big Coca-Cola sign. I'm like, I'm on board.
And doesn't he? I think he pins Zod down in.
Yeah, I was like, he's just gonna get up again.
Or something. Well, yeah.
Like you've cut away, but he's gonna get right back up again.
Well, he has to just stall, I guess, at that point. But yeah, part 2 is great. Part 3. Not as great. Part 3 is pretty bad. I actually like. Part 4 is bad too, but I actually like part 4 better than part 3.
I showed my kids part 4 recently because I'm like, they are of the age where they'll just watch whatever. They're just happy to be watching something. I'm like, if I wait any longer, they'll never want to watch this. and now they kind of like it, which is, my wife is like, I can't believe you.
Part 3 used to scare me. Just because when that lady turns into a robot,
yes,
it used to scare the tar out of me.
When she turns into a computer, that scared the living daylights out of me.
Yes, yeah. Oh man, I would always just, yeah, it was bad.
It is funny that the part 3 only exists in its current state because Richard Pryor was on Johnny Carson talking about Superman.
Yeah,
and so the producer's like, we got to get Richard Pryor.
Like, we got to do this. It was great. Yeah.
Like the original idea was it was supposed to be Brainiac, not just some random computer, which would have made way more sense.
I would have loved to see Brainiac. I think it was Brainiac and Mr. Mix's
Mixelplidiac. Well, it's hard.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, I've always said Mitzelplick, but I on the Supergirl show, I found out I was saying it wrong. I was like, my life is a lie.
Well, yeah, because he comes out in Lois and Clark, and they pronounce it's Mixius Pitlick or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's. I don't even know if that's correct, but but either way, it was going to be those two, and I would have loved to see that one. That would have been
that would have been.
And then in part 4, was it supposed to be like Bizarro?
I believe so. And
is that like the original idea?
I think, and there was even a cut part, and there's a whole. I mean, there's a ton of stuff cut out of that, but there's one that is way much more Bizarro-like than Nuclear Man ends up being. But like, it's just this slow fight where they're both pushing on a car that bends, like they're on either sides of it, trying to push it at each other, and it's just so slow. It's like, I mean, I see why you cut it, but what is going on here?
Apparently, for part 4, there's actually a longer cut that was really, really good. And they thought it was so good that they cut it down to its current form because they wanted to get more views, more viewings, and of course they cut it so bad that it's it's part 4.
I remember John Cryer talked about working on it and then seeing Christopher Reeve after he'd done filming, but before it came out, and Christopher Reeve was just like. Like he had seen more of it than John Cryer had. He's like, let me tell you, I'm sorry, it did not work out the way we hoped it would.
Yeah, well, and I know they ran out of money, during a lot of that, so they kept cutting the budget on that one.
Oh yes, man, the Superman flying scenes in that one, like it looks like Superman is a piece of paper they'd pasted onto a screen of stars going by. Yeah,
it's pretty bad, but it's still cool. I mean, just seeing him fight Nuclear Man, I thought that was kind of cool.
And also, it led to that mashup after the movie Gravity with Sandra Bullock came out. So there's a scene at the beginning. There's a scene at the beginning of Superman 4 where there's a Russian satellite that gets knocked off course by something, and so it's like just spinning around, and like I think one of the astronauts goes flying off, and so Superman stops the satellite from spinning, and then goes and grabs the astronaut and brings him back. So they cut it together with Sandra Bullock being knocked off the thing in Gravity, and then all of a sudden Superman flies out, grabs the astronaut in Superman 4, and then puts him back in the thing, and then they cut to Sandra Bullock back in her thing, and they're That's like, awesome. Oh, look, Superman solved the plot of Gravity in 1 minute. And then they cut to, and then it says 5 minutes earlier, and it shows this part in the same movie, Superman 4, where Clark Kent is talking to this real estate person who wants to buy his parents' farm in Smallville, and that person leaves, and he has a baseball and a bat, and he throws the ball up, and he just knocks it, and you see it go into orbit, and then it hits the satellite.
So,
so
it's all his fault.
Exactly. It was I'm like, that was worth Superman 4 right there, just to have this however many decades later.
That's why they made it.
Yeah, they're like, listen, someday the internet's going to exist.
Yeah, so we had all those, and of course Superman Returns came out afterwards, and
I have a genuine prop from Superman Returns hanging.
Do you
in my
really?
room. I have the newspaper that says the Man of Steel is back, and the kryptonite shiv that Lex Luthor shivs him with. Like they're
That's
like,
cool.
My mom got it at like a Hollywood auction type thing.
That is so cool. Right on. Oh man, I don't have any props.
I mean, it was just a random gift. I don't know that I would have sought it out if I had the choice, but I was like, it is cool now. And now whenever Brandon Routh does something on Legends of Tomorrow, I guess not anymore. He's not on the
anymore.
Show,
Yeah, he's gone.
But when he came back for Crisis and he was playing Superman, I was like, oh look, that's a thing.
That was good. I really enjoyed his Superman. I mean, of course he was no Reeve, but I thought he gave it a good try.
Yeah, he definitely was channeling that, channeling Christopher Reeve's performance, in a way that clearly that's what he was going for. And I especially when they gave him a second chance to do it in this Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover on all the CW superhero shows. I thought he did an amazing job in that.
I did too. I mean, of course, it was still CW, so
I mean,
you get what you get. But
exactly.
I mean, all the Easter eggs for that were just amazing. Alexander Knox.
Yes, from the Batman '89.
From Batman, yeah. Just what's his name? Kevin Conroy. I mean, it's just so many little Easter eggs in that. But I did enjoy his Superman, and the movie. Of course, I think him and Kevin Spacey were the best parts. I did not like what's her name, Bosworth.
Oh no, she was an awful Lois Lane.
Yeah.
She may be a great actress in other things, but I did not like that.
I agree. Yeah,
but that had another scene where, kind of like the helicopter scene, where that plane rescue scene that's probably the best part of the movie, and unfortunately, it happens. I don't know, 40 minutes into it. And then
yeah, it's bad.
It's another movie where Superman doesn't throw a single punch, but this time, and I guess in just this day and age of by this point, there've been way more superhero movies. You're like, I really needed Superman to do more than just catch things.
Yeah. Did you like Man of Steel?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. It wasn't my favorite either.
When they said they're not using the John Williams score because it wouldn't fit the type of movie we're making, I'm like, you've already lost me. You've already made the wrong choice. Wherever you go from here, you're headed to wrong town.
It's true. I mean, I can't even sing. I can't even remember what Hans Zimmer's score sounds like anymore.
I feel like musically it's quite a good piece of music, but it is not Superman. That was my issue with it.
Well, I've never been a huge Hans Zimmer fan. I found his stuff always sounds exactly the same.
Oh,
to me,
I like Dark Knight. I like that score. I feel like did he do Crimson Tide?
I don't recall, honestly.
And I know he did Pirates of the Caribbean, but the parts I like from it are not him.
Yeah. It was, Klaus Badelt, I think, is actually the official composer of at least the first one. I think after that it was mostly Zimmer. But even then, the stuff that he's credited for, a lot of that is his group, like his brain trust that he kind of works with now.
Hans Zimmer Incorporated.
Yeah.
I did kind of like Justice League only because twice in the movie there are a couple bars of the John Williams theme. Yeah, I was like, that's all it took to get me back on board.
Yeah.
But the movie is objectively weird. I don't care.
It is weird. It's a Frankenstein of a movie. But I have a feeling that even if Zack Snyder, for his new cut that they're redoing, I have a feeling I'm not going to like it.
I feel like I'm going to like it less than I like the one already. I feel like
me too, and it might actually be a better movie because it's by one director. Everything's there, but I didn't like Batman versus Superman. I liked Man of Steel, but it wasn't my favorite. But I mean, I thought it was okay. But it's just his style. It was great for 300. It was great for Watchmen. But he's just a bad storyteller. I mean, he's
great with visuals.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just he's just not a good storyteller. And so I don't think I'm going to like it, which is a shame. But
I remember when I went to go see Man of Steel, I saw it twice because I saw it once by myself just to see if I was going to hate it. I'm like, yes, I do. And then I wanted, my wife and I were killing time one time, and that was the only movie that was available. So the second time I made sure to bring my iPod with me, and I actually played John Williams' theme over the score in the theater when he's learning to fly. I was like, this actually works.
Yeah. Nice. I did like how Danny Elfman was like, no, there's only one Batman theme. And so, so he played his Batman theme in the movie.
Yeah. And Danny, he also said, like, look, we've got these things. Let's use them. They're iconic.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you not? I don't understand. Everyone wants to credit to that they compose their own. But so for you and your family, this is an annual watch?
Yes. I just decided I can't remember what I was doing where I found out, or I put together, I'm like, wait a minute. Because I was doing something for the podcast where I was looking for, non-Christmas movies.
Okay, yeah.
And mostly they're just movies that take place at Christmas that you don't think of normally as Christmas movies. The most popular, of course, being Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah.
Which I have now discovered that all 3 Jumanji movies fall into this category.
Do they really? I don't think I even paid any attention to that.
Like the first one, most of it isn't at Christmas, but the finale is at Christmas. I'm like, so that counts. And the 2 new Jumanji movies, they take place at Christmas time. Like before they go into the game, spoilers, they go into the game.
What?
Oh, sorry.
No.
Like it's actively Christmas time around them. Like, the school's getting ready to get out for Christmas. There's Christmas decorations. In the most recent one, they even play Andy Williams' Most Wonderful Time of the Year at one point. I was like, this is a fish, and they both came out at Christmas.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember. I liked the one with The Rock. I haven't seen like the latest one.
I found that one I might say was better.
Really? Oh,
Jack Black, who is not somebody I usually highly regard, but he is so good at playing different characters that are inhabiting who he is. Because like in the first one, he was the selfie taking gal.
Yeah.
And in this one, he is the football player guy. And I won't spoil more than that, but there's more to it than that. And he like, and Karen Gillian even has to play a couple different characters, and it's just just good times.
Nice.
Oh, and Kevin Hart playing Danny Glover. Like he does this, it's such a because it's like Kevin Hart you normally associate with like he is so pulled back all the way through the movie. It's so entertaining.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to check it out. I've been wanting to. It's just one of those like, I'll get around to it. And I just haven't.
I forget where it was, where they were both on sale at Target on Blu-ray and digital copy. I was like, boom, done.
Nice. There's their first Jumanji that they did, those guys. There's a video. They're interviewing. It's Jack Black, Kevin Hart, and The Rock, and so they all decide for this question. The reporter's like, now you be him, and you be him, and so that like they're each person is like answering the questions based like as if they were the others. And so The Rock does Kevin Hart. I think Kevin Hart is Jack Black and Jack Black is The Rock. I mean, it's great. Also, I'm going to have to see if I can find that and send it to you. It's funny. It's good.
That does sound good.
So I have to ask, what would you say is your happiest memory of Superman?
Now, I wanted to keep it Christmas related.
Yeah.
So I would have to say it's the first. So we usually, or the last couple of years at least, we have Christmas at our house. And, people come over, chit chat for a bit, maybe we sing some songs or whatever. And then we have dinner. And then like people are just, want to chat with each other. Yeah. And the kids start to get bored. So we put on a movie. And part of it is my oldest will go around with a piece of paper and like take a poll on what movie we get to see. And, sometimes he has pre-written suggestions, and sometimes he'll just let people like. Sometimes he'll go around twice. Everybody gets to suggest, and then he'll go around a second time. Now everybody gets to vote. Okay, yeah. And so the first time we did that, Superman ended up winning. So we put on Superman during the party, and so I was like, "It's a Christmas party, and Superman's on. This is peak happiness." We got awesome. Superman, John Williams, Christmas. I am at the center of this Venn diagram of happiness.
That is awesome. I don't have anything as cool as that. For me, as far as the movie goes, I don't really have a Christmas related memory about it, other than it just being there. So for me, it would actually be getting the Superman superpowers line. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I have. I still have some of those.
I do too. Yeah, my kids play with my Batman, Robin, and the Batmobile,
nice.
and the Penguin. The others, as I grew older, my parents sold at garage sales and things like that, and so we don't have those. But I remember getting the toy of Superman, and it was awesome. So not quite the same because one's based off a comic, but close enough.
But there's no way you didn't hear the song when you were playing.
I totally did. Every time he flew, it was Oh man. But now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is the segment I like to call Gag Me with a Spoon. So this is where we do our best impressions of our least favorite part of the movie. Now, as the guest, I'll let you go first. Just kind of set up the scene a little bit. And
all right. Well, I was worried we were going to spoil this when we got to the synopsis, but somehow we didn't mention it.
Okay.
So Superman comes to Lois. So after he saves her in the helicopter, and then Perry White demands that everybody know everything they can about Superman. Lois Lane gets an interview with Superman on her balcony, and they're talking for a while, and then he decides to take her for a flight.
Yes.
And they're flying around, and then all of a sudden, her internal monologue starts to go, "Can you read my mind? You know what it is you do to me? I don't know who you are. Just a friend from another star." I could do the whole thing, but I won't.
That was good. That was actually supposed to be a song.
Yep. And, they talk about it on that soundtrack show podcast where they tried to get her to sing it, and John Williams is like, "This is not happening."
Yeah, like nope.
Margot Kidder is many things. A singer is not one of them.
I remember, I told you about how I used to teach film music, and I remember when we would cover this, we watched this particular scene. And all the kids were just like, "Oh, this is the worst."
Yeah.
High school kids, of course. So for me, it was really hard to pick something. But my least favorite part is actually, and it's just the dialogue. It's the worst dialogue. I thought it's when the crook tries to hit Superman with the crowbar, and he turns around and he goes, "Bad vibrations?"
It does seem like a holdover from the earlier script that was very winky and tongue-in-cheek and silly.
Yes, exactly. It's just it's a little out of place. But then he kind of has these little zingers here and there, and so it's not so out of place. But it's one of those that every time I hear it, it's like, okay.
Bad vibrations? I will say, I can't remember the singer's name, but somebody did a recording of that song, like actually singing it, the Can You Read My Mind? Mm-hmm. And I have a playlist for my boys every time when they go to sleep at night, just sort of like so that they, it's a consistent playlist of songs that are kind of slow and easy to go to sleep to. And that song is on that playlist.
Nice. I'm going to have to look it up.
I could think of the. You know what? I have a magic box in my hand that can talk to the internet. I will find out who's saying "Can you read my mind?"
What is this special device you speak of?
Maureen McGovern.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Whew, got it in under the wire before you went.
Okay. Well, okay. Let me ask you. So, G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. Mm-hmm. What do you think the other half of the battle is?
Don't tell the superhero your entire plan before you put him in a trap that doesn't work and leave the room.
That's good. That's actually kind of close to mine. Mine is make sure not to tell your weakness and limitations to a reporter that will then print them so any criminal genius can exploit them.
So there were mistakes on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this YouTube channel called How It Should Have Ended, where they do these animated.
I love, How It Should Have Ended.
And there's one they did. I think one of the first ones was of this movie, and Lex Luthor's like, "Yes, there's two missiles going different speeds, but or different directions, but even with your great speed, you couldn't stop them." And then he leaves and comes right back, and he's holding both the missiles. He's like, in a couple scenes from now, I'm going to fly around the entire world so fast that it reverses time. So clearly I have enough speed to grab these two missiles.
Plot hole. Oh, sorry. No, it's great though. It's so great. Oh man! But on that note, let's fly on over to our chatting with the littles segment. Welcome back to Chatting with the Littles. I'm here with little number one, my 8-year-old daughter. Little number one, how are you doing?
Good.
What do you remember about Superman?
Superman the movie?
Well, Superman in general, and then Superman the movie.
They used a string to lift him up in their life.
They did?
I think, yeah.
Or do you think he can really fly?
I doubt he can fly.
Are you sure? Might be Superman.
Dad, Superman isn't real.
Okay. Well, yes.
It's just a made-up cartoon.
Okay. So what do you think, what's your favorite part of Superman?
Well, I don't know.
You don't know? Why not?
I like it when they show a picture of the Earth.
Of the Earth? Why the Earth?
I like the Earth.
Okay. But what does that have to do with Superman?
I don't know.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
That he time changed or whatever.
Oh, like when he traveled back in time?
Yeah, because he flew so fast.
That's the physics of that is a little suspect, but yeah, I enjoyed that part as well. I always enjoyed that part. I thought it was cool. And then what does he say? He saves who?
What's her name?
Lois Lane?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lois Lane.
Yep, he saves Lois Lane and saves the day.
And he time traveled because she died, but not in real life.
Right.
She was faking. They probably taught her how to hold her breath for a long time. Or a while.
Maybe. I think we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled program.
Bye-bye. That's Troy Bolton.
Troy Bolton? What's he doing here? All right. Tim, it's been great talking with you. It's just been a blast.
Thank you. I've had fun as well. Thank you.
What tell us about your podcast?
Well, it's called Can't Wait for Christmas. And I swear when I talk about Christmas stuff, it's actual Christmas stuff, not tangentially related Christmas stuff like I foisted upon your listeners for the last hour.
That's okay. I do it to them all the time.
Okay. We talk about, I usually do a top 5 list every week. So it comes out on the 25th of every month, or Rudolph Day, which is a thing most people didn't know was a thing. But on the 25th of every month, you're supposed to get a little bit more ready for Christmas so that you're not overwhelmed in early December. Even though I do a podcast on the 25th of every month, I'm still always overwhelmed in December. So do as I say, not as I do. And one of the things we're running right now is a couple years ago, we did a year-long debate about whether or not Die Hard was officially a Christmas movie. And the voters decided that it was, but still many people disagree with that decision.
I'm one of them. I disagree, but that's okay.
And but Die Hard tends to be a movie that dudes like. And then over on the Hallmark Channel, you got a lot of Christmas movies that the women tend to like.
That is
now,
also
obviously,
true.
there are women who like Die Hard and men who like Hallmark movies. I'm at least one of those things.
Yeah.
But I thought, what if we combine the two and we have a Hallmark movie, a Die Hard in the style of a Hallmark movie, or a Hallmark movie in the style of Die Hard?
I'm
not
in.
really sure.
I'm in. Let's do it.
So that is what we were doing all this year. We did the first act a couple episodes ago. The next act will be, so it's like every episode is like like an act. And
nice.
Then, like you would watch, if you were watching a Hallmark movie, then like the commercial break means you come back next month.
Gotcha.
So it's called A Bomb for Christmas.
Love it.
So that's what we're working on this year. New episode, the 25th.
Yeah, check him out. It's a great podcast, and I know you guys will love it. Let's see, your followers are waiters. Is that right?
Waiters is what. Yeah,
that's what they decided on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, and they can catch you at
can'twaitforchristmaspod.com or Christmas Pod on Twitter, or Can't Wait for Christmas Pod on Instagram and Facebook. Why be consistent with my branding? I like to spread it out and make it confusing.
Sometimes it's about what you can get.
Exactly.
So on that note, I will say One thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason. I don't know whose reason or whatever the reason is. Maybe it's because, I don't know. But I do know one thing. It's by checking us out on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're feeling as noble as Superman, leave us a review on iTunes. Not only does it help us reach more people, but it's also the last chance to get your name entered in our first rad contest for a chance to win some cool swag from the Christmas store where I work. You also get a free sticker, so, there's that. Anyway, don't forget to vote on which one of us had the best impression. And I will say later, dudes. What did you want to say?
It's challenge time, y'all.
Okay.
So the challenge is to make your own Superman cape. If you already have one, add something on it. Like the Superman insignia or whatever it's called.
Oh, what about something Christmassy?
Make the insignia... Actually, make the cape candy cane.
Well, we already did candy cane with Mega Man. What else?
I know, make it Christmas tree color.
Ooh, that's interesting. With lights?
Yeah.
Or what if they put a fur around it like Santa Claus? What if they lined it? No,
I don't like that.
Okay. Wait, you heard it here. I like the background music. Your challenge is to make a Christmas tree themed Superman cape. All right. I think we're going to sign out here. Maybe.
Later, dudes.